Hey, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, but you can call me Pajama Grandma. Today on our meeting, I want to do something kind of special. I want to share how I launched my podcast in one day. Not in 8 months or 9 months or 10 months, but in one day. Now, I want to tell you a little story and make a little disclaimer so you don't think that I launched this perfectly laid out, awesome podcast in one day. A friend of mine named Arlene was launching a podcast, and she put up in my Facebook feed, I'm sure I saw it, that she was going to launch her podcast in 1 week, and how she did launch. She was going to actually share on a podcast how she launched her podcast in 1 week. And I had been thinking about a podcast and pondering about a podcast and being scared about a podcast and not doing a podcast for about 7 or 8 months. I'd been putting it off. I'd been scared to do it. I didn't really know how. I didn't really want to learn how. I didn't really want to publish anything. I didn't want to put my voice out there, much less his face out there. And so I just found reasons to procrastinate and all kinds of other things to learn about and do instead of creating my podcast. Well, when I saw that, the competitor in me, I guess I don't think of myself as being very competitive, but apparently I am, because when I saw that she had done it in a week, I was like, damn, I need to get mine done. I'm doing it in a day. So I set to work. Now, I had been doing Facebook Lives for a while. So this was a benefit for me. I had an inventory of Facebook Lives. And I thought to myself, if I could get the video out of some of those Facebook Lives, I must have enough to at least get my podcast launched and started. And now I had done hundreds of Facebook Lives. And so I had a lot to choose from. So I ran through and I picked out 3 or 4 of the Facebook Lives, but then I also recorded an intro one, like my very first episode. So if you have been publishing, you're ahead of the ballgame, and it makes it quicker and easier for you to do this. If you haven't been, then you're going to have to start. You can do like I did, do Facebook Lives and then strip the audio out of them and use those as your podcast episodes. Or you can just record audio on your handy dandy cell phone. These things are magic nowadays. These have more power in them than when I was in college and we had like a football stadium sized computer lab. Incredible power. But you can record voice, or you can record audio, or you can do both. You can do it on YouTube for free. You can do it on Facebook Live for free. Just go onto your Facebook profile. And if you want me to walk you through how to do that, I would be glad to. It's super duper easy. Even my grandmother can do it. Well, okay, maybe not my grandma. She's going to be 99 pretty soon. But that's what I did. I picked some of those episodes. I figured out, how do I strip the sound out of these? So I had to figure that out. And I'm going to share my screen and show you exactly how I do that today, because I still do that. That's where my podcast episodes come from, is they come from my Facebook Lives. So I'm taking one piece of content that I produce first thing in the morning, and I'm using that piece of content to distribute all over the internet. Now, I've shared several videos of step-by-step exactly how I do that. They're actually available in a bonus and on several of my Facebook pages and groups that I share. So if you need to, I can put that in the comments below. But I'm making this video to share as a bonus for another offer that's going out right now, because I love bonuses and I love doing trainings that help people out. And so many people have excuses. Let's be honest, they're just excuses. I made them too, for not doing something. Oh, it's too hard. I don't have the time. I don't know how. I use all those too. But guess what? I also quit using them and just did it. So get some episodes. You want to have at least 3 before you launch your podcast. But before you even get some episodes, guess what? Who do you want to serve? Who are you going to serve? What is your podcast going to be about? Who is your podcast going to be for? Do you have your ideal clients picked out? Do you know who you're going to talk to? Me? I talk to business owners who've been in business for about a year or more, who are wanting to grow and supersize their business, but they aren't exactly sure of the process or how, or they've hit a stumbling block or a roadblock in one area of their business, and they need help knowing what the heck to do next. What do they have to do to get out of that and go from where they are to where they want to be? That is my target audience. Now, it wasn't my target audience when I started my podcast, so there's a little bit of confusion in my podcast. But you need to know, who are you going to talk to? Who do you want to talk to? And do they have a problem? If they have a big, hairy problem that you've got a solution for, you are golden, because that's exactly what you're going to talk about on your podcast. So then after you know who you're going to serve and what you're going to talk about, then you need a name for your podcast. There's all kinds of theories of how to name your podcast. It's totally up to you how you want to name your podcast. But when you do name it, pick a name, if you can, that speaks to the audience that you want to talk to or a problem that they're trying to solve. Now, mine is Pajama Grandma Podcast. So it's all about me. It doesn't speak to a problem. It doesn't speak to a direct audience. But I'm telling you, do as I tell you to get a successful podcast. Don't necessarily do what I did. And now I have reasons and justifications for doing it that way, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way to do it. Well, welcome, Brianna Tobin.
Hi.
Our podcast.
Looks like I'm the only one.
You are, but what I'm doing is I'm sharing a quick training of how I started my podcast in a day. So
Cool.
do you have any questions about that, or you just want to listen and then see if you have any questions?
I'll just listen. I only have a minute, and then I'll
Okay.
buzz out. Should I interrupt you to say goodbye?
You can. Yes, you can. So
Okay.
you know who you're going to talk to. You know what your topic's going to be. You've picked a great name for your podcast, not Pajama Grandma Podcast. Or whatever speaks to your audience or their problem that you're trying to solve or help them with, or that calls them out as a group. Like Podcasting for Entrepreneurs is a podcast that my friend Marie Larson does. That speaks to exactly who she's helping to start podcasts. So after you've decided on your topic and everything, you want to have a couple of episodes. Your first episode should always be an introductory episode that shares your story of who you are, where you've been, and why the heck you're starting a podcast on this particular subject. So people can go back and they can watch that anytime and they understand, well, who are you and why should I listen to you? After that, you want to have a couple of content podcasts that speak to primarily people's most urgent problems that you know a solution for, or their biggest desires. What do they want? If you know what they want in your audience, go ahead and tell them different ways that they can go about getting that. So after you have a few of those, you're going to have to look for a platform to host your podcast. So I actually started out on SoundCloud, but I maxed out that pretty quickly, and the capabilities and the ability to share on that were limited. So I pretty quickly switched to a service and a platform called Libsyn, Libsyn. And I've been with them ever since. I've got it hundreds and hundreds of podcast episodes up on their site right now. I'm not sure. I don't think it's 1,000 yet because I didn't start podcasting right off the bat, but there are hundreds of them there. Now I do my podcast in 4 or 5 different categories, which I don't recommend. I recommend picking a topic and sticking to that topic. And I've recently discovered a really good strategy that I won't go into today, but a really good strategy for how you share the information in your content on your podcast that makes a lot more sense to your audience and achieve the results that you want. Couple more things that are important for your podcast, which I admit that I have not yet done. Number one, you need an explanation intro to your podcast. You need people to know who you are. You need a greeting, and you need to let them know what you are about, what you stand for. I will be writing mine today. I've written one before, but it was for a different niche. So I have to rewrite my intro today, and I will start using that on every one of my podcast episodes going forward. The next thing you want to have, but again, I don't have it yet, is an outro. And part of why I launched my podcast in one day without an intro, without an outro, and without music is because I didn't know how to do those things at the time. I still don't know how to do those things, but it's gone long enough that I need to figure those out. I've got people that are actually watching and listening to my podcast now, so I can't use my ghetto strategy of just doing it and throwing it up there, really very much longer. So today my goal is to write my intro and get that down pat so that it makes more sense to my listeners what I'm talking about and why they should listen to me.
Can you like make a recording of that and then just play it like at the beginning or something to make it so that it'll so that you can
Absolutely
not have to figure out how to plug it in, but you can still at least be utilizing it then?
Well, I don't know how to do it, which is the reason I haven't done it yet. I'm sure it's possible. Most people send their podcasts out and they have the intro and the outro like spliced onto the podcast recording every day. But since I'm doing my own and I do them every day, I just haven't made that a priority. The other thing that's important to have on every one of your podcasts, which I'm also super guilty of not doing, is some kind of a call to action. You have to tell people what you would like them to do shared with them. And, or if you want them to get in touch with you, or if you want them to book you for a speaking gig, whatever it is that you want them to do based on the information that you've shared with them. Bye, Bree. Thanks for joining me.
Bye.
You want to go ahead and have a call to action, even if it's just the last couple of statements that you make at the end of your podcast. You want to send people somewhere. You want to let them know how they can get more information, how they can get more access to you. So we've talked about naming your podcast and all of the things that you should have. Now, I am not the person that should be teaching you how to do a podcast. Go to John Lee Dumas, Marie Larson, Google. There are, I'm sure, thousands of people that can talk you through this step-by-step ways of doing a podcast. And you don't have to figure it all out by yourself. Now, you're going to have to pay those people to teach you how to do this or to do it for you. If you want to learn how to do it on your own, like I did, you just start Googling, what's the next thing I have to do? And then I would Google that. I didn't know how to take my videos and get them from an MP4 file to an MP3 file. So I had to Google that. And I found a site called Y2Mate that strips out the audio from my YouTube videos. And then I can upload that to my Libsyn account, to my podcasting platform. But that's it. A lot of things that we procrastinate with and we don't do. All we have to do is do them. And then once we commit to and decide we're going to do something, we will find the way. That's how I did my podcast in a day. And I know that you can do it too. If you would like more on this and a detailed walkthrough of how I actually do what I do, how to post the videos, how to strip out the audio from the video, just comment below on this video and I will be glad to provide those for you and show you step by step what I do. And again, you can figure all this out yourself. If I can figure it out, if the Pajama Grandma can figure this out, y'all can certainly figure it out. Trying to think if I've got any other cool things to say or do about with respect to podcasting in a day. It's kind of like anything else. If you want to start blogging, guess what? Just start writing, just start blogging. If you want to start doing Facebook Lives, guess what? Just start doing them. Grab your cell phone, start talking to it. And in a few days, especially if you don't have an idea, in a few days, what'll happen is your ideas will start to come to you. You'll start to know, well, what do I love to talk about? What do I talk to people about? What would I help people with even if I wasn't getting paid for? Start talking about those things. And before you know it, you too will have an amazing podcast and a group of fun followers will follow you even if you're in your pajamas. That's it. Have a fantastic day. I'm going to stop this recording